6:06 here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2. Good morning, Boston. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text us 680-680. My friends, call it now the War on Women Round 2. Liberals, Democrats, radical secular progressives across the country yesterday were stunned by the Supreme Court decision on the Hobby Lobby case. And to put it all in a nutshell, Hobby Lobby is a family-owned business. The devout Christians, the whole family, was started in the early 70s. It's family-owned. It's basically a family business. And a lot of the children are involved in the business. Apparently the daughter is the vice president of art. The son is the CEO. Forgive me, the president. The father is the CEO. It is a devout Christian family. And because it is family-owned, privately owned, when the Obama regime imposed the mandate that they had to provide, as all businesses have to provide, a contraceptive mandate whereby you have to give your employees free contraception, subsidized contraception, as well as abortion-inducing drugs, they took the dear leader to court. And their argument was very simple and very American. It was rooted in the First Amendment. How can I, as a private citizen, a business owner of a family-owned business, be compelled to violate my fundamental religious beliefs and my fundamental conscience rights over something as seminal and central as contraception and abortion? Now, you may disagree with the position of most Christians on contraception or abortion. That's your right. But don't compel Christians or people of other religious faiths to provide a good and service that fundamentally violates their sacred beliefs and tenets. And that was the argument used by Hobby Lobby. And the Supreme Court justice said, the Supreme Court in a 5-4 decision said, amen. Yes, you're completely right. Now, to be exactly specific, what the decision, it's a narrow decision, but it's a very devastating decision. Because what the Supreme Court said was this: Hobby Lobby is not a publicly traded corporation. It doesn't have massive shares that it offers to the public. It is a privately owned, family-owned and run corporation or business. And so because it's privately owned and family-run, the government has no business forcing them to abandon or violate their religious beliefs. And immediately, the radical feminists are now, and the Democrats, thinking they now have their platform, they have their issue for the 2014 midterm elections. They're going to go to the playbook. They want to go to the well one more time. War on women. This is a war on women. In fact, I swear to you, now have liberal commentators going on TV saying this is a form of apartheid. This is now apartheid towards women. This is going back, taking women back to the Middle Ages. This is incredible discrimination against women. It's a war. It's a cultural, religious war upon women. Because now somehow women are going to be denied access to birth control and contraception. Oh my God. Women are going to be dying because of this. Their very health. Yesterday, the White House said that the dear leader is not going to give up on this issue. He's now going to go to Congress and ask for Congress to provide a government program that gives every woman in this country free birth control and spermicide jellies. Free contraception. Because as the dear leader put it yesterday, women's lives are at stake. Women are going to die if they don't have free contraception. I swear to you, I couldn't make this stuff up. This thing is so unreal. It is so preposterous. Either they're the most craven, cynical, manipulative people I've ever met in my life, or they're lunatics. Now, let's take the issue one by one. To me, this is so laughable, it's not even funny. First of all, the Supreme Court decision only covers privately owned, family-run businesses. So we're not even talking about the large corporations. Point numero uno. Point number two. And to me, I can't believe no one's even commented on this. This was originally not even part of Obamacare. The contraceptive mandate was never passed by Congress. The contraceptive mandate was an add-on after they passed Obamacare, which was imposed by Health and Human Services, Kathleen Sebelius, along with the dear leader. So now we're going to have bureaucrats and administrators basically start forcing businesses to provide all kinds of goods and services that may fundamentally violate their religious beliefs without even having it pass through Congress? This is tyranny. Plain and simple. And then I get to my ultimate point. Prior to 2012, when we were still a semi-sane country, before the lunatic left took over. Let me ask all the women out there. In 2011, in 2010, in 2009, in 2008, were you living in Saudi Arabia? Were you living in Iran? Were you living in the Middle Ages? Did you feel besieged that there was this constant war upon you because you had to pay for your own contraception? As I explained to Cooksey when we were talking about this in the car, I know because my wife had to do several surgical procedures. She had a massive ovarian cyst, which is one of the reasons why we couldn't have natural children, biological children. Prior to 2012, if you needed it for a genuine health issue, like ovarian cysts or the possibility of a tumor, then the birth control is considered not a contraceptive, but in fact medicine. And it was covered by over 93% of health insurance companies. 93%. It was on its way to being universally covered as a medicine. So this idea that somehow, prior to this Obamacare contraceptive mandate, women's lives were in jeopardy, they were going to have ovarian cancer and tumors, is a lie. That had already been covered by the health insurance companies. This was until Sandra Fluck came. And then Sandra Fluck, at 30 years of age, a woman who can spend a fortune to go to law school, hundreds of thousands of dollars, suddenly said, out of the blue, I want my free birth control. I want my pill, and I want my spermicide jellies, and I want you to pay for it. And suddenly this became a war on women. What I find remarkable, and I think the Republicans should run on this issue. I would run on this issue. If Obama wants to turn this into a campaign theme, make my day, baby. What is more demeaning to women, in my view, than treating them as little children? As basically almost like oversexed teenagers. You can't pay for your own contraception? Prior to 2012, everybody did. And the same applies to men. There's no discrimination. Look, if I want to have sex with my wife, I know it's early in the morning, but this is the culture that we live in, and this is the regime that we live in. If I want to have sex with my wife, and I want to have glow-in-the-dark condoms, or I want to have those, that give you the extra pleasure, whatever, those condoms that they sell, that's my business. Why should you pay for it? Why should it be covered by all of these health insurance companies, forced, by the way, which means all of our premiums go up because they don't eat the costs, we do. Why do you think our premiums are going up? Because we're paying for Sandra Fluck's birth control and all sorts of other things that are in this Obamacare contraceptive mandate. Why do women want to have the government really between their legs? It's none of the government's business whether you have sex, don't have sex, if you want to have the birth control pill, don't have the birth control pill, you want to use spermicide jellies, not use spermicide jellies. That is, you pay for it. It's called being an adult. It's called personal responsibility. That feminists would actually think that this somehow is good for women? To basically turn them all into welfare takers? Except now the form of welfare is not food stamps or EBT cards, but it's free birth control pills and the morning after pill and spermicide jellies. You want to have sex? Do it on your own dime. Now, and by the way, because I couldn't believe this during the 2012 campaign, so I did a lot of reporting. And because I'm like, they're acting like I don't know what, birth control, it costs $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. You're going to mortgage, you're going to bankrupt your house if you don't get free birth control. I said, wait, am I losing my mind? First of all, they kept arguing, and they still argue that women don't have access to contraception. What planet are you living on? My God, just go to your local Stop and Shop. Just go to your local Shaw's. It's right beside the eggs and the milk and the eggs department. Anything you want is available. You don't like that? Go to Target. I call it Target. Go to Walmart. I've done it. Ask. You get phenomenal pills. It's perfectly safe, FDA approved. It's good for all day, all month. I kid you not, you can have sex 5 times a day, 10 times a day, 15 times a day. You can do it this way, you can do it that way. You can be hanging from the roof if you want. Hanging from the ceiling. You will not get pregnant without any health insurance. $9.99 a month. In fact, at some Walmarts, it's now $9 a month. So I asked the pharmacist, okay, this was at a Target in Maryland. I said, I don't get it. They're running around. This is big campaign issue, war on women, war on women. She said to me, honestly, I don't get it myself. Without any insurance, it's $9 a month. And I'll never forget this. She said, it's less than the cost of a movie ticket. I paid $10.50, she said, the last time I went to the movies. It's less than the cost of a movie ticket. Grow up. To everybody. Grow up. It's the cost of freedom. Women should be able to take care of their own birth control needs. Not relying on the government. Frankly, not relying on men. Not relying on anybody else but themselves. And so, frankly, companies, employers should not be put in the position of having to pay for your own birth control. Now, this is not a war on women. It's called self-respect and mind your own business. It's called freedom. Not just religious freedom, personal freedom. And let me just conclude by saying this. If companies and employers are now obligated to provide free contraception and abortion-inducing drugs against their conscience and against their religious beliefs, and all of us have to pay for it because our premiums go up to subsidize, because this is a huge, expensive, lavish benefit. Just to show you how shameless and ridiculous this is, when I was thinking of Sandra Fluck, but I'm thinking of Marjorie Egan in today's column. Okay, she's got a column today. It's maybe one of the most pathetic columns I've ever read. If this is what feminism has amounted to, it's over. I'm telling you, it's over. The movement has become bankrupt. To all the women out there, You have been misled. This is now a dead end. Sandra Fluck was 30 years of age, a graduate student in law school, $40,000 a year to pay for tuition, room, board, the whole bit. But she couldn't afford $9.99 a month to have sex with her fiancé. Imagine you at 30 years of age, not 20, not 18, not even 25, but you're now 30 years of age. You're supposed to be a full-blown woman. Never mind asking the American people. Never mind going on TV. Never mind being like Marjorie Egan on the pages of the Herald and saying, pay for my birth control and spermicide jellies. If you went to your mommy and daddy, never mind asking everyone else to pay for it. You go to your mommy and daddy and you say, Mommy, Daddy, yes, sweetheart. Well, things are going really good between Ron and I. Okay. I think we're going to get engaged, maybe, but it's really good times. Okay. No, I mean, we're really having fun, if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. We get the message, sweetheart. You don't have to get too graphic here. Well, you see, Ron doesn't want to have to pay for my birth control and my spermicide jelly, and it's $9.99 a month. And I don't want to pay $10 a month because I think it's a bit too expensive. And I just don't think it's fair that I have to pay $10 a month. Mommy, Daddy, could you guys pay $10 a month for me, please? Would you honestly ask your parents that? What would you do what would your parents respond? Or to the men out there, same thing. Things are great between Janice and I, really good. Okay, son. No, I mean, really good. We're really having, okay, I get it. But, Dad, we're having a lot of fun. But the condoms it's $7, $8, $9 a pack now. Okay, son, yeah. You want to pay for it, Daddy? You would be laughed off of the kitchen table. What would your parents say to you? What would any self-respecting parent say to you? Son, sweetheart, it's on your dime. If you want to have sex, God bless you. But don't ask me to pay for it. To all the women out there, to all the liberals out there, you want to have sex? Hey, it's your business. But don't ask all of us to pay for it. 617-266-6868. It's called growing up, and it's called freedom. I want to hear from you, my friends. What do you make of the Hobby Lobby decision? I think it was a brilliant decision, a victory for freedom, a blow against Obama, a blow against liberalism. What do you say? 617-266-6868. And to the liberals out there, honestly, do you really think this now represents a war on women? All of your calls next. 626 here on the great WRKO. What do you make of the Hobby Lobby Supreme Court decision? And now liberals are saying it's the war on women, round 2. In fact, they're saying women is like apartheid. What do you say? Should women pay for their own birth control? 617-266-6868. Arthur, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, young man. How are you?
I'm good. At 44, I love to be called young man.
Well, that's ate the hard way. Well, anyway, until we have an honest media, this is what we have now. We have a banana republic now. We got a dictator, and we have a press that doesn't challenge anybody on anything unless people say the most outrageous, stupid statements like that. Sandra, what's her face? That, by the way, I think that Rush was exactly right when he called her what he did.
Yeah, I would have used, frankly, a little bit of a different term there, Arthur, just because I know I got enemies against me.
Well,
but, I mean, look, Arthur...
Compared to the types of things that they say on us, that's like calling her a little baby infant.
Oh, I know. No, I agree with you. No, Arthur, the double standard is disgusting. But no, look, honestly, Arthur, what do you call someone? No, really. What do you call someone that goes in front of television cameras and says, I can't stop having sex, but I want you to pay for it?
Well, these people...
A virgin? What is she? A chaste woman? What am I supposed to call her? Really, a wholesome woman?
Office in all the liberal cities.
Arthur, thank you for that call, my friend. 617-266-6868. No, really, I can't stop having sex, but I just don't want to pay for it. Okay, well, so what am I supposed to call you? A chaste woman, a respectable woman? I mean, honestly, this is now the icon of feminism. With her handout, please, $9.99, please. Enrique, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Enrique?
All right. I got a question for you before I go to the topic.
Sure.
Did you watch the interview with Bill Ayers in the TV last night?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it is very, very interesting. And tonight is the second part in the Fox network, and I'm going to be watching that because it's very revealing. Jeff, we are living in a society that government has taken this paternalistic approach that everything we do, our daddy government has to pay for.
Well, Enrique, look, I said this to Cooksey on the way in. How come, really, if sex is a fundamental right, see, notice, whenever liberals want something, it's a right. It's a right. So now, women have a right to contraception. Well, forget sex. If I don't eat, I'm dead. So what now? Do I have a right to a couple steaks a week? Do I have a right to the government paying for all my food? I can't function without a car. Now, do I have a right to a car? I mean, this is an absolutely absurd argument. I mean, in a free society before 2012, if you want to have sex, God bless you. You want to have sex 5 times a day, God bless you. You want to use contraception, God bless you. But why should we all pay for it? And then what kills me is, if I say no, like I would say to a man or a woman, my son Ashton or Ava, no, pay for your own contraception. You want to have condoms? Pay for them. You want to have the birth control pill? Pay for it. Suddenly now, it's a war on women. While women are being beheaded and stoned by radical Islam all over the world. Women are being aborted all over the world and in this country. And I'm the sexist. It's incredible. Laura, you're up next. Thanks for holding, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Long time. You know me. I'm a strong proponent of women's right to choose, but it's their choice, so they should have to pay for it. Just go to a freaking gas station and get a pack of condoms for $7. The only thing I should say is, I think if they're going to mandate it, get all these EBT cards and the illegals and put it in their freaking cereal so they can't squeeze out another pup and have another baby that we have to pay for.
6:30 here on the great WRKO. What do you make of the Hobby Lobby Supreme Court decision? And do you think the liberals will be able to use the war on women theme effectively in the midterm elections? And to the women out there, that you have to pay for your own contraception. Is that discrimination against you?
This is a stifling decision for American women. It's a decision that blocks women from being able to make their own health care decisions, not just reproductive health care decisions, but health care decisions in general. Now you'll see those companies that want to claim a religious objection really trying to push the envelope on so many different types of health care. I mean, Peter, there are organized religions that oppose health care treatment.
And this is really what your concern is the potential implications of a decision like this. So finish that thought. This
is deeply troubling because you have organized religions that oppose health care, period.
Incredible. 6:37 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number. Here is Marjorie Egan in today's Boston Herald. This one, to me, even by her standards, is a new low. Court's Catholic justices attack women's rights. So it's not only the Supreme Court to blame, but in particular, the Catholics on the Supreme Court. You want to talk about Christophobia and anti-Catholic bigotry? All you got to do is read Marjorie Egan's column. Quote, so the war on women round 2 begins. Or more specifically, the war on women who want to have sex without one possible consequence, pregnancy. Outrageous women like that really annoy lots of conservatives, blah, 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 blah. She goes on. And in particular, what has the left really furious, because a lot of, there were a couple of rulings yesterday. In terms of Hobby Lobby itself, Hobby Lobby will still be providing about 16 different types of contraception. For them, the issue was abortion-inducing drugs. And so on that issue, for Hobby Lobby anyway, the Supreme Court said, no, you cannot force an employer to provide the morning after pill or abortion-inducing drugs, because that ends up killing potentially a life. And abortion is it's a sacred issue for many devout Christians. They believe that abortion is murder. And so to provide abortion-inducing drugs is a violation of their conscience rights and religious liberties. There were other people who were suing based on the contraceptive mandate, but I'll get to that a bit later. But the big issue is the abortion-inducing drugs. According now to Marjorie Egan, now check this out. Now they're making this argument about religion. Some religions oppose vaccinations, Jehovah's Witnesses oppose blood transfusions, etc., etc., etc. No one is talking about allowing people to die because of their religious beliefs. What we're talking about is compelling people to provide certain kinds of coverage, whether it be contraceptive coverage or, in this case, abortion-inducing drugs that violate their religious beliefs. And what the Supreme Court said yesterday was, if you don't want to provide contraception, free contraception, or abortion-inducing drugs, that is your right as an employer, under the terms of religious liberty and the Religious Restoration Act, which clearly passed by Congress, which explicitly states, that you cannot force someone to violate their own fundamental religious beliefs. Now, as I said earlier, you may disagree with Christians, you may disagree with Jeff Kuhner on abortion and contraception. That's your right. But you can't force Jeff Kuhner to go against his fundamental religious beliefs and conscience rights and provide a good or service that he believes to be fundamentally not only immoral, but contrary to his religious principles. It's really that simple. Religious liberty cannot be violated. But for Marjorie Egan, she can't handle the merits of the case. She doesn't know how to deal with the merits of the case. So she goes that, according now to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Hobby Lobby ruling favors one religion over others. And according to Marjorie Egan, which this is news to the whole country, that religion just happens to be Roman Catholicism. Now, here is what is really disgusting about the column. Honestly, this would be perfect in Hitler's Germany. Rather than dealing with the merits of the case, the intellectual arguments of the case, what does she do? Catholic, 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 Jew, woman, woman, Jew, woman, woman. It's all identity, race, and gender. And so according to Marjorie Egan, that religion just happens to be Roman Catholicism, the religion of all five men in the majority. Actually, some of them are not even practicing Catholics, but it would take a little bit of research, Marjorie. Let that go. The minority on the court, meanwhile, consisted of 3 women and 1 man. Stephen Breyer, a Jew. What Hobby Lobby really represents is a continued chipping away at reproductive freedom. Women's reproductive freedom, which is a necessary prerequisite to our economic freedom. Anti-abortion crusaders have worked hard to shame women seeking abortions. Now these same activists are working hard to shame women who want birth control. Though nearly every woman in America has used contraception, conservatives seem poised to demonize it again, just as GOP presidential contenders did in 2012. Blah, 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 blah. And then she ends up by saying this. By the way, while Hobby Lobby claims it's immoral to help its female employees pay for, say, an IUD, which can easily cost $1,000, the company has no moral qualms about helping male employees pay for Viagra. So here's the bottom line. Viagra-fueled old men can have all the free sex they want without the consequences, but ladies get out the visa. I don't know where to begin with this disinformation. Either the woman, Marjorie Akbar Egan, I think it's time to retire. When you're lusting over young suicide bombers, when you're standing there fantasizing about how sexy flashbang is, and then you come out with this anti-Catholic drivel, it's time to go. It really is. It's time to go. First of all, let's get something straight. Insurance companies should not be in the business of paying for any man's Viagra, any man's Cialis, any man's sex toys, any man's sex pills. Let every man pay for his own Viagra, Cialis, and sex pills. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, how is this a war on women? This doesn't even touch the issue of Roe v. Wade. It's not even close to touching the issue of Roe v. Wade. What this says is this. You cannot force devout Christians or Muslims or Jews or whatever your religious faith to provide abortion-inducing drugs. That's it. You want to have an abortion? Go ahead. Don't ask me to pay for it. Why should I pay for your abortion? Why should I pay for you having sex? No, really, honestly, you want to know what the big expense is having sex? I'm serious as a heart attack. It's the motel. Forget the birth control pill. That's $9 a month. Forget the condoms as whatever. I don't know what it is now. $7-8 a pack. I don't use them, but whatever it is. No, you want to have, unless you want to do it in the back of the car. I don't recommend it, but let that go. It's the motel. It's the Holiday Inn. That's where the money is. That's what costs. So by your logic, if women must have, consequence-free sex, that's what it's all about. Subsidized, paid-for, consequence-free sex. Well, what the hell? Pay for the hotel. But my deeper point is this. You want to use this as a war on women? If I were conservatives, this is the ground I would fight on. Look, I love my wife to death. She was a successful career woman. She's taken a few years off. She's going to be teaching again in a couple of years when the kids are a little bit older. I love my daughter to death. I don't want her to have every opportunity in the world. I don't want her to have all the rights in the world and the protections in the world. Real problems like sexual harassment in the workplace, domestic violence, being able to walk the streets unlike in North Boston without fear of being assaulted or raped. You want to take the pill? It's a free country. That's your business. You want to have sex with any guy you want? I don't recommend it. I don't think it's respectful to you, but that's your right. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. But to have someone else pay for it, to have all of us pay for it, because if it's free, then who do you think pays for it? We all do. That's why our premiums are going up. That's immature. That's degrading to a woman. In fact, that reduces a woman to a child who's not able to make her own decisions and be mature enough with the consequences of her actions. Now, you want to take the pill, take the pill. You forget to take your pill and you need a morning after pill. Don't ask me to pay for it. If I was a conservative, this is the issue that I would run on. Do you believe in female dependency? Do you believe in treating women as oversexed children and teenagers who can't control themselves and need constant protection? Or do you believe women are actually true, mature, thinking adults who can be responsible for their own actions and their own lives? 617-266-6868. Natalie, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
I can't believe how insulting this rhetoric is. Ladies, if you don't want to work for Hobby Lobby, get another job. You can't get another job? Well, maybe that's because the guy that's running the economy doesn't know how to run the economy. But let that go. We also, I can't understand why these people feel that they're now defining freedom for women. You can only achieve that by oppressing somebody else's freedom. I don't play that. You know, it's a free country. I love freedom. Let me have the choices. Nobody ever paid for my birth control. I never thought it oppressive. I never expected anybody to. And then lastly, Jeff, the Constitution specifically says that we have the right to keep and bear arms. Well, there is a war on women. We have men who are preying on us. I think the government ought to buy me and have everybody buy me the armaments that I need to protect myself. I have a right to own a gun.
Amen. Amen. Dina, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi, I actually read Marjorie Egan's column, I don't know, it was a couple of weeks ago on against the Pope and the pot shops, and she just absolutely made me sick to my stomach. I won't ever read her column again, and I'm a frequent buyer of the Herald. I mean, everything she says is just moronic. She just sounds like an absolute moron. And even when she had her radio show a couple of times, it was like listening to another planet. I can't understand how she can downgrade women the way she does, but yet wants to be an activist for us. It absolutely makes no sense to me. Everything she says is just foolish. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Dina. No, look, to me, Marjorie Egan is a joke. She's an embarrassment. She's an embarrassment to the Herald. Fine, I understand you have to have liberal columnists, but at least have somebody that knows what they're talking about. This woman has no idea what she's talking about. And what's even worse is she claims to be proud of her Irish heritage, yet she dumps on St. Patrick's Day. She dumps on the Irish Catholic heritage. She claims to be a Catholic, yet the only Catholic she likes is Jean-Francois Kerry and Nancy Pelosi. Her Pope is not Pope Francis, it's the piranha Nancy Pelosi. So, she claims to be a devout Catholic. Check this out. She's pro-abortion. She's pro-same-sex marriage. She's pro-birth control, pro-contraception, pro-free contraception. I could go on and on and on. How come no one's excommunicated her? I mean, I read this and I say, this woman is in contradiction to everything the Catholic Church stands for. And yet she still wraps herself in the mantle of Catholicism? Are you kidding me? No, what it is for her, as it is for many liberal feminists, it comes down to this, and it's very sad. It's sex. You see, they're just as bad as the chauvinists they claimed that they were fighting in the 1960s. They have objectified women sexually. For them, it's all about, she's the inverse of Hugh Hefner. Actually, if you think about it, her and Hugh Hefner agree on the exact same principle. A woman's fundamental essence is sex. Him to have sex with, her for the woman to have sex. That's what it's all about for Marjorie Egan. So, have the government pay for it, have the government subsidize it, be on the pill for your whole life. God forbid you should get pregnant, take the morning after pill, and that's what it's all about. That's what it means to be a woman. Not to be a mother, not to be a true daughter, not to be someone who's a successful, vibrant woman in the community, reaching her full potential. It's all about sex.
Jeff Kuhner, invading your HD radio.
Are you ready?
You bet. Jeff Kuhner, 6 to 10 on AM 680 and now on 93.7 HD2.
God bless you.
Boston's talk station, WRKO.
Russ, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Welcome.
Jeff, as Rodney Dangerfield would say, if the guy will not pay for the birth control pills, she must be a two-bagger. Now, if there's anyone out there that doesn't know what a two-bagger is, you put a bag over her head and one over yours in case hers breaks, you know. No free condominiums for men. No free birth controls for women. What the hell's the problem? You know, you screw, you pay. What other entertainment will they expect us to pay for in the future?
No, I mean, look, I swear, I watched a horror movie last night. It cost me $5.99 on my rental, on my, on demand. What the hell? If Sandra Fluck can have it for free if she wants to roll around in the sack, how come I can't watch my horror movie for free?
And hear it as well.
Maggie, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Yes, hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I agree with what you said a few minutes ago about it being an issue about sex. I see these women as being very angry and having a condition known as passive-aggressive behavior. They perceive that men have always had whatever sexual opportunities they wanted without consequences, and now they're going to have it. They're going to flaunt it in front of you, and not only that, they're going to make you pay for it.
Maggie, I know you nailed it. And honestly, I look at men and women today, and I think the sexual revolution has cost them a lot.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
And you and I are here to tell them that's enough.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
.705 here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2. Welcome back to Hour 2 of the Kuhner Report, 617-266-6868. The libs, the moonbats are going berserk. I mean berserk over the Hobby Lobby decision yesterday. And just to put it all in proper context, Hobby Lobby is owned by David Green. It's an arts and crafts chain, and essentially the owner of Hobby Lobby challenged the HHS mandate that required businesses to provide a full array of contraceptive services, a full array of contraceptive options, including the big one for Hobby Lobby was the abortifacients. And so Hobby Lobby, just so everybody knows, is a self-insured company. It's a privately owned company. And they have about 13,000 plus employees. And there's been media report and media investigation upon Hobby Lobby. Almost everyone agrees they provide extremely good, very generous health care benefits. The Greens are devout evangelical Christians. In fact, the whole family is very devout. They're very faithful practicing Christians. And for Hobby Lobby, they don't object to paying for 16 out of the 20 FDA-approved contraceptives that HHS requires. So even on the contraceptive mandate, Hobby Lobby was saying, okay, we can do 16. There's 4 we can't do. And the ones they really object to are the abortifacients, the morning after pill, because they believe it prevents the implantation of a fertilized egg after conception. And they're saying that amounts to abortion. And they said, those 4 we don't want to pay. And from this, basically saying our religious freedoms and our religious liberties are being fundamentally violated. It's our company. We own it. We put our sweat and brow into it. We put our capital into it. We started it. We built it. We take all the responsibilities that come with ownership. We provide phenomenal wages and phenomenal benefits. However, as Christians, there are certain things, certain contraceptives we will not cover. Now, if you want to go out and get yourself the morning after pill, knock yourself out. Some of them cost about $20-25. It's a dinner and a couple drinks. If it means that much to you to have a morning after pill because you forgot to take your pill. And from this, the Democrats are now claiming this is a war on women. That this is now somehow jeopardizing the lives of women. Now, I'm making a larger philosophical point, which is forget just abortifacients. Forget just certain kind of contraceptives. I don't think the government has any business getting involved in anything regarding contraception. Anything. The whole mandate should go. along with Obamacare, but let that go, but especially the mandate. And that's why the Catholic Church and others are bringing their lawsuits against the mandate to the Supreme Court. Because it's very obvious. The government has no business forcing employers or forcing anyone to provide free contraception. Now, if the dear leader feels that strongly about it, if the Moonbats, if the liberal progressives, if the Marjorie Eagans, you feel that strongly about it, don't hide behind some kind of a bureaucratic edict or a bureaucratic mandate from former HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius. Put forth a government program and put it through Congress. Have it up or down vote. And ask the American people if everyone should be paying for everybody else having sex. And I think a lot of Americans are going to say, the overwhelming majority are rightly going to say, hey, look, what you do in your privacy of your bedroom is your business. What contraception you want to use is your business. How many times you want to have sex is your business. What kind of pill you want to use, what kind of contraception, what kind of condom, what kind of spermicide jelly, whatever floats your boat, that's your business. But once insurance companies get involved, and it has to be now a service, once it's now subsidized or free, then everybody's premiums go up. Then we're all paying for it. Or if it's a government program, then we pay for it through taxes. And I sure as hell don't want to be paying for Bubba having sex on my dime. This is not anti-woman, it's not anti-men, it's pro-freedom, pro-personal responsibility. I'm an adult. Now, I'll make a confession to you. I don't know if it's because we've got kids. I don't know what it is. I'm always tired. But to me, right now, if you were to say, Jeff, sex or have a nice piece of strawberry cheesecake, I'd go for the strawberry cheesecake. That just gives me more pleasure right now. I don't want you to pay for my strawberry cheesecake. I pay for my own strawberry cheesecake. I mean, this is in all seriousness. This is now the sexual revolution taken to its logical conclusion. Sex is now a right. Subsidizing sex is now a right. And so I'm asking myself the very obvious question. If women are discriminated against because somehow they're now being denied abortifacients by family-owned businesses, because women are the one that have babies, that's what the feminist argument is, well, then companies should be forced to provide Pampers and diapers and infant formula by that logic. You see, this is the mess that we're getting ourselves involved in. And what I find incredible is whenever the left yells racism or sexism or chauvinism, and it's always a war on some group, a war on blacks, a war on minorities, a war on Latinos, a war on Native Americans, now a war on women. Conservatives are like, oh my God, I don't want to be called a sexist or a chauvinist or a racist. I would stand there and say, look, with all due respect to Sandra Fluck, and by the way, she was really upset yesterday. Sandra Fluck, I thought she was going to get a heart attack. It's discrimination. If I want to have the morning after pill, how come my employer shouldn't pay for it? Sandra, you're now in your early 30s. Pretty soon you're going to be 40. You can't be a teenager for the rest of your life, Sandra. Grow up and pay for your own sex. No one's telling you not to do it. No one's telling you how to do it. No one's telling you how many times a day you can do it, with how many men. You want to go 15, 20. Listen, you can have 1 million partners if you're able to get 1 million partners. Don't ask me to pay for it. And that this is what feminism now amounts to? I said it before. Hugh Hefner has won. The Playboy philosophy has won. How is this different, in all honesty, than pornography? That what a woman is basically a sex object. And she has to be paid for it, and she has to be coddled, and she has to make sure it's free, and it's consequence-free, and because that's all a woman fundamentally really is all about. That's what motivates her. That's what it's all about for her. I thought it was about something more. I honestly did. I thought it was about a career. I thought it was about reaching your full potential as a human being. I thought it was about being a mother. I thought it was about being just a member of society in full standing with equal rights. I didn't think it was all about you laying on your back and having the government pay for it. But that's just me. Now, if conservatives argue like this, the feminist argument is demolished. And the deeper point is this. This is classic government overreach. This is again the dear leader and the Obama regime abusing their power and sticking their nose where it doesn't belong and coercing and forcing people into doing things they have no business coercing or forcing them to do. In this case, providing abortion-inducing drugs or certain kinds of contraception. And so now, the regime over the last 2 weeks, this is a story the mainstream media is downplaying significantly. They're worse than the Boston Celtics. They're losing Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision after Supreme Court decision. They've had a huge string of losses, every single one of them. They got killed on compulsory dues. That went shooting down, so public unions can't force their members to now have compulsory involuntarily provide dues. That's gone. They shot that down. To a 9-0 Supreme Court decision on Obama's recess appointment saying it was illegal and unconstitutional. The Supreme Court is now saying, along with the 4 liberal justices, that the dear leader is abusing his power. That the dear leader is now usurping Congress. In fact, it's not even Jeff Kuhner saying this. Here is liberal constitutional law professor at George Washington University, Jonathan Turley, huge Obama supporter, vociferous anti-Bush critic, saying, as a professor, I have never seen an administration lose this many decisions in the Supreme Court regarding abuse of power in my lifetime. Roll it, Cooks.
It's a huge blow to the Obama administration. You know, this has been an awful 10 days. You know, they were previously found to be in violation of the Fourth Amendment and privacy. Then they were found to be in violation of the separation of powers. And now they've been found to be in violation of the First Amendment and the religion clauses. I mean, you just don't want to get out of bed after a week like that.
He's right. I mean, they're getting hammered. So it's not just Jeff Kuhner that's saying Obama's out of control. It's now the Supreme Court, and on many issues, it's even the 4 liberal justices on the Supreme Court. My friends, the dear leader's imploding. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let me ask all of you this. Should women get free contraceptives? Do you believe that it's a right for a woman to now have free birth control pills and spermicide jellies? And furthermore, do you think that the Democrats will effectively use this as a war on women as they did in 2012? Or have we seen that movie before? 617-266-6868 is the number. Lines are blazing. John, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Kuhner. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you, John?
Very well, thank you. I know that you understand the distinction, but I want to make it to some of the low-information people out there. This wasn't a contraceptive mandate shoot-down. It was an abortion shoot-down. This was only for the portion of the HHS mandate, which is wrong in its face in full, just like you said. But this was only for the means to give yourself an abortion if you think that the pill didn't work for you or you didn't take your pill or something like that. So, you know, and all these women that are crying the loudest about this thing, what it really boils down to is They're pissed off that they're not men. They think men can have sex with impunity, which is true. Men can't get impregnated and carry babies, and they're annoyed. They think they should have that freedom. Well, then, become a lesbian, get a sex change, whatever. Don't have kids then. It's absolutely absurd. You listen to all these militants, because that's what they are. Most of them don't have children. They have nothing better to do with themselves but attack men. They're man haters. They're all single. Most of them don't have kids. They just don't like men, and they resent the fact that God made them a woman, and they can potentially carry a child and give birth.
John, you touched on it. It's a form of self-hatred. And let me stress this. Let me say it again. Modern feminism has become a form of self-hatred for women. Marjorie Egan is a self-hating feminist. She's a self-hating woman. For whatever reason, she's angry at God that she's a woman. Now, this is the point that I've been saying for, I think, 15 years now. And I used to say it to my students when I was a professor at McGill, especially to the women. Now you know why, for thousands of years, now you know why the sexual revolution wasn't for women, it was for men. Now you know why the sexual revolution was so devastating to women. Because for thousands of years, women understood one thing. You have to domesticate the male. Whether it be the American male here or the European male or whatever, the male anywhere in the world. You have to civilize and domesticate the male. And that's where a woman's power lies. It lies in the family. You don't want a man going around and just having sex, impregnating women, because the women are left with the child, and the man just moves on to sexual conquest after sexual conquest after sexual conquest. That's why marriage was considered such a civilizing institution. That's why it was considered such a domesticating institution. Because it harnessed and disciplined all of the energies and aggressive impulses of men. So men, instead of having sexual conquests, saw themselves as protectors of the family, protectors of women, and providers for women and the children. That's why women always understood, until the 60s came along, the source of our strength is the family. It's not our oppressor, it's our friend and best ally. And that's what Hugh Hefner understood. Hugh Hefner understood, if I want to get women laying on their backs, if I want to have all the sex that I want, I have to brainwash them and convince them that their enemy is religion, that their enemy is the family, that their enemy is monogamy. It's the very opposite. Monogamy is the greatest thing ever for women. And that's what modern day feminists have forgotten. So, let me ask all the women out there. I can't tell you how many women I've met. They're in their 20s and 30s. Many of them are extremely sexually active. They don't have a husband. They may have boyfriends, and they may shack up for a couple of years, but it usually doesn't last. He doesn't want to put a ring on her finger. Why should he? Why pay for the cow when you can get the milk for free, as the expression goes? Why should he? Why should he put a ring on your finger? You're giving him everything. Meals, you're washing his clothes, you're living together, sex. Why should he put a ring on his finger? And so what happens? By the 30s, and especially by their 40s, they are now marriageless. And the sexual marketplace being brutal as it is, when women start getting in their 30s and 40s, men start looking for younger women. That's why now, literally, there is this social phenomenon of so many single women who are not married in their 30s and 40s. You even have Maureen Dowd, columnist at the New York Times, writing about how she's in her 50s and she was never able to get married. And now she feels barren, and she doesn't have children, and she doesn't have a family, and she never was able to walk down that aisle, and she's lonely, and she feels isolated. And I'm so depressed, I'm so sad. Well, Maureen, I hate to tell you this. You were the one that said, have all the sex you want. Consequence-free sex. Marriage is nothing. Marriage is a form of oppression. Now you're complaining in your 50s when you're not married? And you're and loveless and single? Colleen, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Well said, Jeff. I do not think I should pay for anybody's birth control. I do not view it as a war on women. I think it's disgusting what the women's movement has done to this. They have taken a movement that's supposed to create equality, parity, remove the glass ceiling, and what they've created is a bunch of whimpering women whining for groin equality. They haven't taken a step forward. They've gone back to the Cro-Magnon age. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely absurd to think that I should have anything out of my pocket for what happens between two people, whatever that combination is. I'm tired of it. And most people I know are tired of it. I don't know who these nasty, miserable, ugly, because they are ugly. They're an ugly breed. Life didn't shoot them a straight hand, and they're taking it out on the rest of us. And Sandra Fluck, God almighty, she's pathetic.
Thank you very much for that call, Colleen. Damon, you're up next. Thanks for holding, and welcome.
Jeff. You know, I know that Sandra Fluck's good. Jeff, maybe she can get Obama to make this retroactive. I need a refund, Jeff. Maybe, you know, I figure I got a couple of decades worth of getting busy here. You know, I might be able to take that vacation, Jeff.
I know. Look, honestly, to me, it's just, I'm looking at this, and to me, this is I've never seen such hysteria in my life. And it's like, look, we're talking about the morning after pill. We're talking about privately held businesses saying, oh, you can't force these poor people at Hobby Lobby to pay for a morning after pill. You want to have a morning after pill, knock yourself out. It's a free country. And from this, I swear to you, Damon, you've got liberal commentators now saying America has now become an apartheid state. We're now apartheid. Damon, this is now South Africa.
Jackson. Pull out the Andrew Jackson and take care of it. You know, they got the money. It was never a problem before.
Thank you for that call, Damon. 617-266-6868 is the number. You know, honestly, when did women become these like these Sandra Flucks and these Marjorie Eagans? Sniveling, pathetic, desperate for handouts, now wanting everything covered. It was like that woman they trotted out for the 2012 campaign. Her college paid for, her housing paid for. Because of affirmative action, she got a job because of the government. Food stamps. It's almost like now, they've kicked out the man from the bedroom, and they've replaced it with the government, with the dear leader. I swear, it's like now, government as big daddy, government as lover, government as husband. It's government is everything. Government is Casanova. I mean, it's really sad. Look, take my word for it, okay? Take this to the bank. A nice guy beats the dear leader in the bedroom any day. You don't need him there covering your contraception, okay? Trust me on this. Look, to all the women out there, you're dating a guy, you're married to a guy, you tell him, you love me, you fork up the money. You want to have sex, you pay for it. That's it, that's all. Now, if you're a Christian like me, you don't have to even do that, but let that go, because I'm not into contraception, but that's just me. But that doesn't matter. I'm telling you, to all the women out there, very simple. Very, very simple. You love me, you pay for it.
I am not in favor of that.
Better yet, you really love me? You know, you court 6 months, 9 months, you get to know each other, and then, you know how they used to do it for thousands of years? The man would go on his knees, because it would be an honor to marry you. It would be an honor to devote his entire life to loving you and taking care of you and raising a family. And he puts a ring on your finger. And if he's not cheap, if he's not cooksy, he puts a nice ring on your finger. And then there's something called a wedding. And preferably, I know I'm being really, now this is hardcore fascism now. This is serious reactionary stuff. It's in a church or a synagogue. And the family and friends are there, and they're happy for you, because now this is the creation of a new family. And then, hold on now, I'm talking, this is Auschwitz. Forget South Africa apartheid. This is Buchenwald. Okay, these are the gulags now. You have children. You have something called babies. That's how they used to do it for thousands of years. But forget that. You're dating a guy, he loves you, he says he loves you, you pay for it, Charlie. Period. That's it. 617-266-6868. Eddie, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go.
Chuck, the thing that drives me crazy is we have 100 different fashions of birth control, yet 70% of all minority children are born out of wedlock. This is a cultural cesspool. We provide all these methods, and everybody ignores it, but the government mandates it. It's a pile of garbage.
Very well said, Eddie.
Cultural failure.
Very well said. All these children out of wedlock, and all of this contraception floating around, and the government mandating it, and nobody's using it. Bruce, you're up next. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Jeff?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Bruce?
I had to use my buddy's phone because my battery died. But anyways, let that go. We're becoming a country of homosexual marriages, and we don't have to give them, birth control and contraceptives, but we'll probably have to supply them with doctors and everything else, because diseases are going to get from they're into Jack and Bill instead of Jack and Jill marriages. But you're right, though. If you're supposed to fall in love, get married, have children, and that's the bottom line, and that's where America's getting kicked under the bus, because all the illegal aliens that come in get all the best health care, get all the best doctors, the best hospitals, the best housing.
Well, pretty soon they're also going to get the best birth control pills and spermicide jellies. They're going to get everything, Bruce.
And there again, Jeff, the regular working guy can't. The wife and the husband have to both work. They don't even have time to have kids.
Look, all I can just say is this now. If women now are entitled to free contraception, I saw this pack of glow-in-the-dark condoms. I'm telling you, it was this crazy, freaky, purple-green color. I want that paid for by the government.
I'm beginning effort to fix as much of our immigration system as I can on my own.
7:37 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. The dear leader on the march. So, my friends, this is absolutely stunning. Even in the wake of a string of Supreme Court defeats and rebukes. In fact, according to Ben Wolfgang from the Washington Times, the dear leader has now racked up so many Supreme Court defeats, many of them 9-0, that he now has 29-0 decisions against him. With the Supreme Court saying you've abused your power. You cannot make recess appointments when the Senate is not in recess. Public unions cannot have compulsory union dues being paid against the will of their members. Your Environmental Protection Agency cannot simply rewrite laws or impose mandates and regulations willy-nilly without the approval and authority of Congress. With his very own Supreme Court justices, Elena Kagan and Sonia the Wise Latina Sotomayor, saying he's overreached, he's usurping the authority of Congress, he has now created an imperial presidency. We now have a rogue president who is not following, implementing, or obeying the law. What does the dear leader do yesterday? He holds another press conference in the wake of the stunning Supreme Court decisions, chipping away at Obamacare, saying, no, you can't impose all kinds of mandates on private employers. You're not a dictator, dear leader. We have something here called the Constitution. We have something called the First Amendment. Warrantless wiretaps of cell phones or going through people's cell phones. Supreme Court said yet. Law enforcement can't just come in and take your cell phone and look at it and pick it up and go through it. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. In the wake of one stunning defeat after another, you would think Caligula would be chastened. You would think King Tut would be chastened. Instead, the dear leader throws down the gauntlet, saying, you want to sue me? Congress wants to sue me? Well, I'm going to keep passing more executive orders. And especially when it comes to amnesty for illegal immigrants and immigration reform. And you keep complaining about my lawless, unlawful executive orders? Well, then just pass the bloody bills I want you to pass. In other words, it's my way or the highway. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I've never seen something like this. The arrogance, the hubris, the no sense of limitations to his power. So here is exactly what Obama said in his own words. This is straight from the New York Times. Mr. Obama angrily blamed congressional Republicans for the collapse of the immigration reform legislative effort. Quote, while I will continue to push House Republicans to drop the excuses and act, and I hope their constituents will too, America cannot wait forever for them to act.
Today I sent a letter to congressional leaders asking that they work with me to address the urgent humanitarian challenge on the border and support the Immigration and Border Patrol agents who already apprehend and deport hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants every year. And understand, by the way, for the most part, this is not a situation where these children are slipping through. They're being apprehended. But the problem is that our system is so broken, so unclear, that folks don't know what the rules are.
Who's to blame? Yeah, don't cross the border. Rule number 1. Build that freaking wall. Congress promised Reagan a wall in 1986. That was 28 years ago. I'm still waiting for that wall. If there was a wall, we wouldn't have a problem. Who's the one that said he will not deport the children of illegal immigrants? You did, dear leader. Another one of your many illegal, unconstitutional executive orders. You created a magnet. This massive humanitarian crisis of all these children being dumped across the border, that's on your feet. That you're responsible for that. Now you're blaming Congress for your own problems that you caused? Now, here is the part to me that I find stunning and shocking and really almost in a sense now has me questioning the sanity of the president. Humiliating defeat after humiliating defeat at the Supreme Court. Now he's being sued by Congress itself. He now writes a letter to House Republicans saying that he's going to take executive action by the end of this summer, early fall. Guess what? A couple weeks before the midterm elections. Wink, wink. To the Latino Hispanic voting bloc. Wink, wink. That now he's going to be giving out work permits to illegal immigrants. And that he's going to be protecting from deportation millions of illegal immigrants now in this country. So he's now basically told Congress, essentially, blank you. I'm going to start handing out work permits to all of these illegals. And to millions of them, I'm going to say there's no way in hell you're going to deport them. It's a de facto amnesty policy. It's de facto amnesty. Now, to all of you out there, You may say, Jeff, but I agree with amnesty, Jeff. We need to do something about all these illegals, Jeff. We need to be more welcoming. We need to be more compassionate and tolerant and respect for diversity. And Wall Street wants all this cheap labor. And Jeff, who's going to work on my landscaping? Who's going to cut my lawn? Who's going to work in our restaurants? Who's going to pick strawberries? We have to have these illegals, Jeff. We have to do something, Jeff. Then pass a law in Congress. But Jeff, Congress doesn't want to pass the law. Then elect representatives will pass the law you want them to pass. That's how our system works. It's called a constitutional republic. It's called self-government. But what you cannot do, what we must not do, what is blatantly criminal and illegal and unconstitutional, it's dictatorial, is to have this buffoon in the White House, this Marxist in chief in the White House. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm going to do what I got to do. Telling Congress that because they won't pass a, quote, darn bill, he's going to come in and do all of these executive actions. You can't do that, Mr. President. You don't have the power to do that. You don't have the authority to do that. In fact, your job, which you've been abdicating, which is your constitutional oath, is to implement the laws of this country. And one of the key laws is to secure our borders. You're failing. It's obvious. They're flooding. They're invading the country, for God's sakes. So you're failing at your basic responsibilities, at your basic job, and then you turn around and tell Congress, well, you don't like all these executive orders, by the way, that are being shot down by the Supreme Court, but who cares? I'm the dear leader. Well, then pass the darn bill in Congress. They don't want to pass the amnesty bill in Congress because it's not popular. And you know why it's not popular? Because it violates the national interests of the United States, period. It's a sellout. We're rewarding lawbreaking and criminality, and the American people saying yet. It's not complicated. So now it's my way or the highway. Now you're threatening executive action? Now you're going to give out work permits to millions of illegal immigrants? So Americans who already can't find jobs, 23 million underemployed or unemployed, one of the worst economic recoveries since the Great Depression, 92 million Americans out of the labor force, and you're going to be handing out work permits to millions of illegal immigrants without the approval or authorization of Congress? And then on top of it all, you're not going to deport millions of illegals, which is your job to deport them? But you're in fact going to prevent them from being deported actively? Think about this. This tells you everything you need to know. He is siding with strangers. He is siding with lawbreakers and criminals who have come into our country illegally. He will protect them from being deported. But when the government of Arizona, his own government, a government of the United States, wants to enforce federal immigration laws, he takes them to court. He sides with criminals against his own government and his own nation. And then in yesterday's speech, which was to me clearly a treasonous speech, Putin, frankly, couldn't have been more defiant. Putin couldn't have been more unilateral. Putin couldn't have been more imperial. He blames the Tea Party. Again, now we're back to the Tea Party holding the Republican Party hostage. No, dear leader. The problem is not the Tea Party. The problem you have is with the American people. And you're trying to break our back, and we don't want our back broken. Now, the Supreme Court is shooing you down. The American people in poll after poll and poll are saying they're done with you. Congress is now taking you to court. Take a hint. We don't want you. 617-266-6868 is the number. 749, actually 750 now on the great WRKO. Coming up next, the Democrats are now saying the dear leader will borrow the authority to give amnesty to illegal immigrants. Don't touch that dial.
But I hope that Speaker Boehner will speak up today, and if he does not, the President will borrow the power that is needed to solve the problems of immigration.
7:57 here on the great WRKO. That was Senator Dick Durbin. Dick was, he was being himself yesterday. And so this is the same guy that compared Guantanamo, I swear to you, to Nazi concentration camps, to Auschwitz, to the gulags of Stalin's Russia. Now he's coming out and saying, and it's obviously he's now doing it on orders of the White House. Basically now he's saying that if the House of Representatives will not capitulate on amnesty, the dear leader's going to go it alone. He's going to go rogue. And he's going to do it just a couple of weeks before the November election to really whip up the Latino minority community to try to save his bacon in the November elections.
While I will continue to push House Republicans to drop the excuses and act, and I hope their constituents will too, America cannot wait forever for them to act. And that's why today I'm beginning effort to fix as much of our immigration system as I can on my own.
I think they want to pull another Thad Cochran. I think they saw what happened in Mississippi, and they fear a Tea Party victory in November, and they're saying, look at good old Thad. Good old Thad said, make that robocall. And you had people vote illegally. You had them vote twice. In this case, you give them work permits. You make sure they're not deported. And before you know it, you swell the voting rolls. And this is how they plan to steal the election in November. I think to me it's very, very obvious. The regime is now looking for amnesty to save their bacon. And coming up next, okay, just to show you what's happening. You are not going to believe, trust me when I tell you this, what California Governor Jerry Brown recently said to Latino lawmakers. He waved the white flag of surrender. I've got that story and your calls. Let's take it to Angela in the newsroom.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.